Let's talk about just a surprising development off the ice for the Ottawa Senators. There's been so much focus in the last few days on Ryan Reynolds, who appeared at Canadian Tire Center on Tuesday night for their game and was spotted in the crowd and received a nice ovation. And perfect setup for him to continue to play up his interest in potential ownership stake with the Sens. But the idea that the Sens announced that Chris Neal will have his number retired, number 25. And when you take a look at his career, just a fantastic, consistent presence for the Ottawa Senators in their lineup. 1,026 games, all played with the Sens franchise. Their all-time leader in penalty minutes, a heart and soul guy. But I think this is an interesting decision, Mike, in that if you look at all of the numbers that have been retired throughout the league and taken out of circulation for a given franchise, I can't really think of a player who has a case quite like Chris Neal, where he was more or less what you'd call a role player, not a superstar. What do you think of the decision to retire number 25? Is it fitting, or is this a stretch?
I think it's a great decision by the Sens if they're going to keep retiring numbers because this is a player who was a lifer in Ottawa and meant a lot to that community on and off the ice. You know, he did a lot of work with the Roger Nielsen House, which is a pediatric care facility in the Ottawa area. But he spent over 1,000 games in a Senators jersey. And you look at the history of that team, who they've retired numbers from: Daniel Alfredson, Chris Phillips as well, both for the most part lifers. We'll toss Alfredson's year in Detroit aside. And I think that for Neal, it's just a celebration of a player who was exactly what it meant to be an Ottawa Senator. Now, I'm not a huge fan of retiring numbers at all across the board because at some point we're going to run out of numbers, but that's just the world we live in. And I'll tell you this about Chris Neal. Frank, this guy was the single most vicious sewer ball player, two-touch player I've ever faced. I remember going there in training camp, and he just crushed guys. Like, the competitive level of Chris Neal was terrifying. And if there was anybody that was going to get your attention in the room, it was him. He was the exact type of player that kept everything in that locker room moving in the right direction because everybody was so scared of the guy in the first place, and you knew you might have a soccer ball flying at your head the next morning.
Okay, that's great. So let's retire his number 25 for his play as a two-touch player. Like if he wants to go in the NHL two-touch Hall of Fame, that's great. We can do
Come
that. I
on,
just think it's
Frank.
a reach. Not to be
I
sour,
don't
and I'm
think
certainly not going to denigrate Chris Neal, but this is the ultimate honor for a franchise is to
yeah.
retire your number and to take it out of circulation. I'm sorry, it's not the Hall of Good Players in this case for the Ottawa Senators. This is the upper echelon, the upper crust that's only reserved for a select, should be 5 or 6 over the entire life of your franchise. And I'm sorry, Chris Neal as a player just doesn't fit the bill just because you showed up every day.
Well, maybe for your definition of it, Frank, here, but I've been boots on the ground in Ottawa twice. I was with that organization twice. And what that guy meant to that team and to that city, I think it's fitting, man. And I think it's a little bit different dynamic than just looking at what he's done on the ice for a club. I think it's the whole fit and what he meant to that entire city, not just the organization.
I'm not questioning what he meant to the city or the team or the work that he did in the community. All those things are fantastic, but that's not what this honor is for. It's not the good guy award or the guy that showed up all the time for 1,026 games. It's for the very best, the most elite players in a franchise's history. And I'm sorry, Chris Neal doesn't fit the bill. It's a reach. Let's
I think
get
he's
to
one of the
this
most
week's.
elite within what they've had. Let's get to the next one.
Well, that's fine. He may be. That just speaks more to the Sens and some of the issues that they've had, I guess, over the last 10 plus years.